what you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on the negative, the weaknesses, the setbacks, the failures, trying to help your clients fix those things and not focusing on things that they really are doing well or things that are coming more easily to them, the one good day out of 20, focus on that thing. Hello, welcome back to Not Another Mindset Show. Today's episode is really related to one of the most core skills that I teach to coaches inside the health mindset coaching certification, and really is something that, like, you got to get this, I don't want to say you got to get this right, but it's something you got to wrap your head around in order to use a lot of the other skills that I teach inside the program. So really what we're talking about today is just, please stop. Please stop immediately going into fix-it mode with your clients. Please stop spending more time coaching them on their bad days, on their struggles, on their weaknesses, on their setbacks, on their failures, than you are focusing on the things that they're doing well, on their strengths, and helping them see what those things actually are. So I know that me even just saying this, and as I was like outlining this episode, I'm like, people are going to hear the beginning of this and be like, okay, yeah, duh, like focus on strengths, like strengths-based coaching, blah, blah, blah. Do I need to listen to the rest of this episode? I think I already got the gist. You don't. You don't, because, listen, I would have thought that an episode like this may be something, I don't want to say too basic, because, like, hey, as a health and fitness coach, you know that the basics are really the most important foundational things, right? But more so that, like, what am I going to talk about beyond, like, stop focusing on weaknesses all the time, because what you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on the negative, the weaknesses, the setbacks, the failures, trying to help your clients fix those things and not focusing on things that they really are doing well or things that are coming more easily to them, the one good day out of 20, focus on that thing. I'm like, what else am I going to talk about? Like, that's the gist, right? But there's so much more underneath this. And also it's worth explaining why, the mechanism behind it. And then I had a conversation with one of my students. I don't think I'm going to name names, but he's great. He was an awesome student in our spring 2026 cohort, came to, I think, every single live discussion call. And he brought this up on, I want to say it's like our third to last call, because then on the second to last call, he came back and like reported on his findings. I will get into this. And he was so aware of this understanding that we shouldn't be just focusing on what's broken in our clients, what needs fixing, focus on the strengths, point out the strengths, find the bright spots. I mean, he had already gone through the majority of HMCC at this point, but he came to me and said, I have this dilemma because I'm working with this client, and one of his goals is to bring up his step count throughout the day to get just more movement throughout the day. So we've been tracking steps. And last week he checked in, and 2 of his days were way above his goal. Like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but we'll use the 10,000 step goal as an example. So it was like 14,000 steps on those 2 days. But the other days of the week, his step count was below 10,000. Like, he didn't really even get that close. So I'm struggling with this whole focus on the good stuff, focus on the strengths, because I want to dig into the stuff that, yeah, went wrong. Like, what happened on those days that you couldn't even hit your goal when you got these other days that you like absolutely crushed? And he was talking to me, and this was like in our group call, so other people were chiming in and had a great discussion around this. He's asking me, like, so you're saying, like, I really should just talk about those 2 really good days and not even get into, what were the barriers? What came up on those days? What made those days harder? And I said, the point is not to just totally ignore when things are going wrong, when setbacks happen, pretend like they weren't there and only focus on the good stuff. Like, no, that's like just delusional, right? So I did say, however, if you're finding yourself immediately like wanting to go into and dig into those bad days to figure out what went wrong, like what can we work with here? Like, and I know because he's gone through HMCC that it's not just going to be like what'd you do wrong on those low step days, right? It would be, hey, there's probably some information here that we can learn from. Like there's HMCC angles to go that direction with. But he was still kind of grappling with that. And I said, okay, how about this? You go respond to his check-in. And just for the next week, give it I think we did 2 check-ins. I guess it worked out to be, if with this step count goal specifically, I do want you to only focus on those good days and ask what went well on those days. How are you able to make that happen? Like, this is such a higher amount than even your goal that we have set for you. Like, that's really impressive. Can you tell me more about those days? Just focus on that. It was sort of like a challenge for him, and also to show you how this stuff works. So he did that. And then he came back the next week and was like, okay, I got to tell you, I so badly wanted to ask more about those bad days and what happened so we can get into it. And I was like, and try to fix it. And he's like, yeah. So, and he said, but I stuck with it. I stuck with the experiment. And I was honestly so surprised. I know inherently that this is important, and it kind of makes common sense, right? Point out the good stuff. Don't heavily focus on the bad stuff. But I didn't expect the outcome. He was like, I didn't even mention anything about those low step count days. Just asked him to tell me more about the good days. And in the next week, his overall step count for every day improved. Every day improved. And it was the coolest thing for him to come back. And he was so excited to share the results of this experiment. So that is why I decided I wanted to talk about this more in an episode, because it was really cool to see. And again, this is someone who is right now, as I'm recording this, is graduating from HMCC, has a really strong foundation when it comes to mindset and behavior change and communication with clients, was still feeling this, what's called in motivational interviewing, the writing reflex, just this urge to provide solutions and fix things as a coach. Even when he knows that doing that may not be the best direction, it's still hard. And he was still surprised by the outcome. So in general, this is something that a lot of coaches struggle with. I would almost argue that 99.9% of coaches struggle with, and they don't even realize it, because this writing reflex, this immediate instinct, this urge to fix and provide solutions and do all of this stuff, it is so instinctual because we're in a helping profession. You're trying to help by doing this. It's obviously not malintended. I would assume it would never be malintended, at least not the people that listen to my podcast. So one thing to note with this is that your instinct to fix, this is not a flaw. I don't want you to feel right now that you're oh my God, I've been doing something wrong this whole time. It really is just a reflex, and it's coming from a place that you care. And you know that this person hired you and you want to help them. And when you can see okay, these are the things that are going wrong, so that's what we need to focus on, when the reality is that may not actually be the best approach. So why this writing reflex, why it's so strong? Really, I think culturally, there's a component here. In school, in sports, in work, we were trained to hunt for the weaknesses. I mean, I'm literally picturing getting a school paperback with the red lines, red pen all over it. you're literally being taught, like, here's all the bad things in bright red on your paper. And then there might be a note at the end that's like, this part of your paper was really strong. Okay. But you literally now made pieces of paper look like they're bleeding to death with all of the things I did incorrectly. But thanks for telling me that, like, my paragraph structure was still solid. So I think in general, strengths are taken for granted. That goes for everybody. I mean, raise your hand if you have a hard time recognizing your accomplishments and celebrating those before you dive into something else or try to justify why you were successful with other things. I mean, societal norms. And also, it really feels like the responsible and expert thing to do to fix things and offer solutions, because it feels like that's how you help this client. You're being paid to help them. And so fixing feels like helping. So the reframe I have for you is understanding that examining those setbacks or the off-track days first in your client check-ins, those, like, that focus first and leading with your perspective of things often backfires. And I know you've seen it. I know you've seen this happen, where you start going in on, like, okay, looks like you had, like, a decent week. You mentioned that it was pretty hard for you to hit your step count goal. So I'd really like to get into that, and I have some questions for you around that. I also am wondering if maybe you've considered parking at the back of the parking lot when you're walking into work every single day. Like, that's where we tend to go. And when you do that, they may come back and say, yeah, cool, got it, thanks. But they're not even really in a place to hear it because you didn't bring them into a place to hear it. So based on, I guess we can get into, like, a little bit of behavior change research around this, because it's so well ties into a lot of the driving components of behavior change, like self-efficacy. And self-efficacy being, like, I feel like I can continue to work towards things even in the face of challenges and obstacles, things like that. So one of the absolute strongest sources of belief in your ability is mastery of experience. That sounded like a bunch of just, like, lovely words. But what I mean is, you've done the thing successfully. That is the thing that will be most likely to help you believe in yourself, because, like, you have evidence, you have proof, you've done it already. So when you focus attention on the days or specific behaviors that went well for your clients, like, that's where your first and immediate focus goes. Asking them things like, how did you make that happen? What was the situation? Like, tell me more about what went on in this day, because it seems like you didn't mention anything about it. So, like, tell me more about how you got 14,000 steps that day. You're already helping them just register what that evidence is, the proof that they are capable of doing this. So that boosts self-efficacy, which we know from decades of research that self-efficacy, very strong indicator. If you have that you can make the changes, you can stay motivated, you can do the things. So we know that. And then also, I've talked a lot about the ABC psychological needs on the show before. So we have autonomy, belongingness, and competence. And when we as human beings have those things, we're more motivated to do something that's related to that. And we're really motivated to get those needs met. So autonomy. It's a lot of what we're talking about here with even just asking these questions instead of, like, immediately providing solutions, that you are asking them, like, tell me more about your experience. Like, don't be coach directed. You want the client to lead. So that plays a role here. And also competence, hugely. If you just focus on the low step count days and what went wrong. And yeah, sure, like what can we learn from it? That is very growth mindset oriented. How do we learn from our setbacks? But if you're doing that and not spending ample time on the 14,000 step days, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to help them build that self-efficacy and help them build competence, that they feel like they're capable of doing this thing. Okay? All right. And I want to hammer home too that I'm not saying that you should ignore the low days, brush off the off-track weeks, and just focus on the good stuff. That's not necessarily what I'm saying here. So don't take this and run with it, okay? But when I'm saying strengths first, I don't mean strengths only forever, okay? So instead, we're just like really kind of like changing the sequence and the source inside our client conversations, inside our check-ins. So start from what worked. Let the client drive the conversation. Let them drive the problem solving. And now they can anchor their own story, their own perspective, their own actions to what is going on and to what they're going to do next versus you directing all of it. Okay, really quick break from the episode because I have something brand new that I developed and it's totally free and I know you are going to love it. And honestly, I think it's one of the best free resources I've ever made, which is why I'm making a point to pause the episode and tell you about it here. This is a free guide with the psychology-backed questions for the 3 conversations that are happening before someone makes the decision to hire you or to buy from you. The direct conversations with prospective clients, like on sales calls and in the DMs, wherever, that's only one important conversation. And there are 2 more conversations that heavily influence whether someone says yes before they even get on a call with you. And this free guide, I'm giving you questions supported by behavior change science, of course, for all 3 of those most important conversations. What to ask in your content, what to ask your prospective clients, and what you need to be asking yourself. And that last one, most coaches try to skip, but it's arguably the most important one, so please don't. The questions you're asking and the ones that you're not asking really do shape everything. So head to the link in the show notes and download it right now, and let's get back to the episode. Okay, so I would love to leave you guys with like some more tangible things here. Like I'm hoping at this point you got the idea. Hopefully it did bring you a little, like a few steps further than just like what I was saying at the beginning of the episode of course, I'm supposed to focus on the good stuff, Kasey. Like, what is the purpose of this episode? So tangible things. In your client check-ins, try the strengths first. God, that's difficult to say. Strengths first, question swap. Oh my gosh. Instead of opening with what made the low step count days hard, what barriers came up, open with what made the high step count days work. Tell me more about how you made that happen. Start there. Open with that. And obviously this does not just apply to tracking your steps, okay? Like I hope that's clear. This can be applied to anything. And reflect the strengths that your client doesn't necessarily name out loud to you. If they're not picking up on it, but you are, say it. Show them. Shine a light on that for them. Like I want to point out something that I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for. Please do those things. Make sure that you are always sitting on your hands first. That's something that I say all the time to HMCC students with this writing reflex idea. Sit on your hands. Don't immediately provide anything. Jump to solutions, conclusions, assumptions, and resist the urge to fix what's wrong. Like keep that in mind. Literally just try that for the next week to the best of your ability and watch what happens. And then, only then, you can bridge into those hard days, those low days, those setbacks that were happening. And you can do that right away, or you could do something like my student did with the story that I was describing and give it a full week and then see what happens first. Then you can bridge into those setbacks, failures, obstacles, whatever. For instance, like you said that walking after dinner was something that was helpful for you to hit those higher step days. Reflecting on the low step days, I'm wondering, do you think something like that? Maybe it's exactly that. Maybe you just happen to skip that after dinner walk on those days. Or is there something that could have been included if you reflect back that is similar that would have helped you? That's the bridge. The problem, in this case, it still gets solved. It still gets worked on. But now it's coming from a place of strengths and what's going well and just general feeling like I can actually do this in your client's case, right? Okay. All of this probably makes sense to you in theory, right? And I'm telling you, it's a lot harder to keep yourself from jumping into fix-it mode than you think. And please do not let this episode go in one ear and out the other. Please. Because I really want you to test this out in full. I would really encourage you to do this so you can really try to experience the same result that my student did when he just like went all in on that one specific behavior for one client and did not bring up the low days, did not bring up the weaknesses, did not try to fix anything. So that said, of course, this student had already gone through like at that point, 10 weeks of teaching, learning from me inside of HMCC. So he did have some other things at his disposal and knew how to communicate with the clients, whether he was talking about the strengths or the weaknesses, like he was well equipped. So he did have that prior leg up, I suppose. But that doesn't mean that you, if you have not been through HMCC yet, I'm so sorry for those of you who are watching on YouTube. I've hit my microphone with my hand like 17 times. I'm apparently very animated with this topic today. If you have not been through HMCC yet, you can absolutely still implement this and see results. But, we are getting close to enrollment for our fall 2026 class of the Health Mindset Coaching Certification. So if you are feeling like, maybe I could use some more training in this, I would like to be a success story on Kasey's podcast, then please make sure your name is on the wait list for HMCC. When you're on the wait list, you also get 5 free lessons in mindset and behavior change coaching right away. So you can get started like today. You don't need to wait till August until we open doors for enrollment. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. Again, this was something that I was like, I don't really know if this is going to give me enough substance to talk about on the pod. But then I had that conversation and that like test experiment with my student was like, I want to talk about this more. I think it's important. So I hope you felt like it was important. If you don't feel like it is, just go try it. Do it first and then come back and tell me what you think. Okay, goodbye.